Hello, everyone watching this. Thank you, first of all, for taking the time to tune in to this professional development that I am providing today. My name is Michael Bodine. I am in year 24 in public education. I teach at Leesville High School in Louisiana. I am now, for this year and last, a special education resource inclusion teacher. I had a sabbatical right before that, and 22 years before that of teaching high school band, music, arts, and things like that. So I feel like I have a unique insight to this topic that I'm going to discuss today, which is about advocating for our students in an area where we often don't have an opportunity to, or we don't seek it out. How do we consult and advocate for our students outside of academics when it comes to extracurriculars, sports, and their involvement in clubs at schools? It may seem like inconsequential in the grand scheme of things, but I feel like it's important, and I'll point out some reasons why as I go through this. So I'm going to click through my slides and present. I've already given you some of my background. My rationale for this choosing this choice of topic is I just feel like it's important. Maybe some of you have had those awesome light bulb moments with your students when you see them light up on something like being a part of a team that they didn't think they could be a part of, or joining a club, or being able to compete. Something that feels more normal for that special education student who often feels like they're not part of that normal student body, student life experience. So I think that's very important for us to strive for. And so I hope I can provide some insight into my experiences with this and why we need to see it as super important. There is legislation tied to everything we do. If you've taught any time in special education, you know that. We write our IEPs based off of accommodations and modifications in our meetings and our paperwork and our communicating with parents and other teachers. All of that is legislated. There's a lot of money tied to that. That's one of the first things they teach you when you become a special education teacher. However, I work with juniors, 11th graders, and so a transition plan, a plan to get them active in things outside of the classroom academics, like a job plan. What are they doing after high school? What are we pushing them to get involved in while they're here in school outside of passing those classes? That is a part of my IEPs as I write them. If you're in high school, you probably can relate to that. So legislation regarding how we serve our students does and needs to go beyond just that progress report, that those meetings, and making sure at the end of the year they pass on to the next grade. Super important. The benefits of this are, just abounding, so abundant. So when it comes to things like sports, I'm going to say marching band, maybe even some clubs like 4-H. There's the physical exercise, the activity side of this, especially if you work with self-contained students who might get 2 or 3 days, a half hour or so of APE. Most of the time, those students, those children are fairly sedentary. They don't get a lot of activity. Maybe they have some physical limitations that they're sheltered and everyone worries about how they're going to do when it comes to physical. But being a part of some of these things will push them into things that their body needs. Special education students often feel blinders on. I got to pass my classes. I got to go to my resource class. That's really all I'm here for, to survive that. But there are so many benefits when they join a club. They get to interact with students that they normally would not be able to, or maybe aren't in any classes with. Being a part of a sports team is such a special thing. I taught band for many years, and seeing some of those students walk through my door who were on an IEP. I didn't know always how to approach that. I didn't know a lot about accommodations and how that would fit into the activity that I was leading them in. I taught all this time groups and ensembles that were advanced players. They had been on their instrument for sometimes as much as 7, 8, 9 years. And I had kids walk in the door who had no experience, but they just wanted to be a part of something different, something special, something outside of their classroom environment. And I did my best. I had some success stories along the way. What do you do? How do you approach a student like that who might have some physical, cognitive barriers to overcome, and they haven't or they aren't used to this activity? So you meet them where they are, and I'm going to get to a slide on that later. But you meet those students where they are. You find out what they want to do. You put things in their hands and see how they interact and use those. You have conversations with them. What is our part in the process as special education teachers? If you were in that same assignment as me watching this, what is our part in the process? Several different parts, but it starts with relationships and collaboration. And I'm going to shift more into thinking about the faculty that we work with. When I was teaching band for so long, and now as special education, I really try my best to keep an open forum between myself and all the other teachers, between the coaches especially. That was so important when I was teaching marching band. I had athletes in my groups. But if we are not collaborating well first with our faculty, our fellow educators, our coaches, then the likelihood of them allowing and wanting and doing everything they can to help this student thrive once they join their organization. Instead, if we have beef with them, if we aren't building a rapport with them, if we aren't collaborating with them, meeting them somewhere in the middle, they're going to be less likely to want to work with that student of ours. A big success story that I have had this year, it was a student that I had last year, came in, he wasn't there for a lot of the year, came in late. He had struggled, he's autistic, he has some physical issues as well. But super sweet, really tall guy, loved basketball, hard worker. He came in so late that he didn't have a chance of any of that last year when he was my student. But this year he's in and out of my room. We stay in contact. I help him as much as I can. And he wanted to be this senior year of his to be a part of the basketball team. We have a new coach, a really nice guy. And so when I knew the tryouts were coming up, I just, saw him in the office and I stopped him. And I talked to him about this student. I said, hey, so-and-so is going to be trying out today. He may or may not have the physical ability to really be a part of the team on the court. But if there's anything you can do to make him feel a part, if he's a manager, he will do anything for you. And I just I hyped him up because I knew I could trust in that kid and he needed this chance. Basketball season just ended, but he has been the manager all season. And it was such a big deal to him. He's been ostracized or felt like it his entire life. He was away at a facility when they were getting everything worked out with his autism and everything that goes into that, because he was diagnosed late in life, not as a young child. And so this was huge. This was huge to watch him. And I would go to the games. I would watch him, visit with them, high five, and, just very special there. So our part in the process is not only to build those relationships with our coaches, teachers, educators, whoever we're working with, but to encourage, to hype up our students, to push them out of that box thinking of, I don't think I can do that. I've never done anything like that. They're not going to want me to be a part of that. Yes, they do. You belong there. You belong there. And if you have an interest in it, you need to go for it. I will help you. I have another young lady in my resource class this year who's a fantastic artist. She struggles cognitively. She's very quiet. She doesn't have confidence in herself. But I pushed her to join the art club, and she's in it, and she's actually helping them lead quite a bit, which is, again, amazing. And that's not about me or anything I did. It's all about the student. But we have to play a part in bringing those students out of that box of all that negative thinking that they've had as they've went through the system as a special education student. We know all of the stigma that gets attached to that. We have to break down those barriers. I used this phrase earlier in this teaching. We have to meet these students where they are. Of course, academically, that starts in the classroom. We evaluate as we, go through their IEPs and looking at their past test scores and work, how we can help them with all the resources and help that we have academically. But that goes beyond that especially when it comes to this extra stuff. They are not going, many of them come into thinking they can be a part of things. So we have to meet them where they are, and then from that point, push them beyond. Not in a negative way, not in harassing them, not in them feeling under duress, but sometimes they need to hear that, hey, I know you've never done this before, but I see this in you. I see this light in you. I see a physical ability in you. Wow, I see your sketches in your book. Those are fantastic. You need to do something with that. So we meet them where they are, and build that rapport with them. But then we have conversations and we take them out of that box and hopefully get them involved in something that can be so truly wonderful for these students. See past the mission of your program. As a band director, it was very easy to have my blinders on because all year you're preparing for some competition and you feel the weight of that on your shoulders as the director. So taking those blinders off and seeing the big picture of the students and the student experience was important. Coaches, if you're watching this, yes, you want to win. You want to compete, you want to go into the playoffs and go far. You have to see past that sometimes and see the individual student experience. And sometimes the smallest part in your program that student can play, that you can hand off to them and say, hey, I trust you with this, and I know you're going to do a great job. It's huge. So we have to take those blinders off, those of us who lead the clubs, band, choir, theater, and sports, and sometimes give a little from our initial focus and mission to, just light up a life. Super important. We do a big spring production musical, usually in April. We're about a month and a half away from that here. We're doing Beauty and the Beast this year, or they are doing Beauty and the Beast this year, and I have several of my special education students who are involved in that. And it's so neat because they're usually in their little quiet box. They don't want to be, identified in any way. They want to have conversations with you out in the hallway or kind of in private about things. It's so neat to go watch them perform every spring and see them light up on a stage performing with a theater. So we, in leading those, have to see past, maybe our initial picture of how we want things to go in that perfect way, and see each individual student and how we can impact them. And maybe more importantly, instead of with this mindset of how are they going to hinder me? I don't know if I can put them in this or give them this responsibility. How are they going to positively impact our program, our sport, our club? I've seen it time and time again. It's such a good thing. Health. Obviously, when we're dealing with special education students, some of it is just a cognitive related learning disability. However, as you know, many of them have health issues, have a health plan on file with the nurse at the school. It is super important to not just file that health plan in with the IEP and tuck it away and it doesn't matter anymore, especially if you are in charge of them in an extra group. We have to know what's going on with them? What are their limitations? If it's a sport or marching band, maybe their time outside needs to be limited. Maybe the rigor of that physical activity that they're involved in needs to be tapered at times, and you need to be more watchful. Do they take any medications? If they travel with me, are they going to be, are they going to take the medications while they're on the trip? How is that going to work? I had a student in band with me, special education. She graduated last year, very successfully. Sweet, sweet girl. Good friends with the parents as they helped out my program as band parents. But she had a seizure disorder. And so we had to have a plan as we traveled to away games and competitions. And one of my assistants is a female, super, super lady. And so we had a plan in place, not only for what we would do, what that child would let us know, what triggers there were if something were to come on or if she felt it come on, but what we were to do if something were to happen, if there was a seizure on its way or she was not feeling well. So it's super important in this health aspect that we are in charge. We don't leave it up to someone else, because that's usually when something slips through the cracks. And if that happens, it's all going to come down on us. Super important. Right in with the health is developing that plan for those students is parental involvement. If you cannot communicate well with the parents and involve them in every part of the process, show your concern and care and how you're going to nurture their child, it's not going to work. Developing a plan, a health plan, starts with the parents. They need to trust you. Often they are maybe even scared to allow their kids to be a part of something and to travel with a group. Kids with cognitive issues are going to have trouble keeping up with a schedule. So you're going to have to, with the parent, communicate well to make sure that they are where they're supposed to be for you and your program. Many of them will not be able to drive. So there has to be a transportation concern as well, that everything's taken care of, right? Parental involvement, parental communication, collaborating with your parents is super important as well in this process if it's going to be successful. And then in the end of this, we get to take the joy in as we watch just the blossoming of these students in these new activities for them and things that maybe they thought they never could do. We have to take the time from the ground up to build the rapport, to speak with the students, have conversations with them, not just about algebra or chemistry or English, but about their life and what they want to do and what they want to be involved in, what they've dreamed about but maybe never attempted. Ask them what they want to be involved in. Collaborate with everyone in the process to help make that happen. Communicate with your parents. Formulate a plan so that everybody involved is trusting each other. That the parents trust that on that Friday afternoon when it's time to get on a bus to go to a game, they don't have to worry. Their child is taken care of by you and every other adult involved in the process. And then throughout the entire journey, make sure you're monitoring. You're not on autopilot. You're checking in. You're watchful for things that might need an intervention of some kind. These students will often get discouraged easily. How do you continue to motivate them and encourage them? It is super necessary that we do that throughout the process. I created this professional handout to go along with this teaching today, and I tried to make it as pleasing and aesthetically pleasing as possible, but I just included some benefits to this process. And this was new for me. I did it in the past, but it's new for me to advocate on this side of it in this year and a half plus that I've been a special education teacher, and it just has hit me more and more that this is such a big key to what we do to get out of that time crunch framework of making sure our students pass academically and finding out ways to enrich their lives outside of the academic classroom, pushing them into new things. And man, again, what joy just fills our hearts when we get to watch that happen, when we get to watch the parents at a competition seeing their child do something so special. So maybe this is new for you, this way of thinking, as it was for me at one time. If there's anything that you would like to discuss with me, please reach out. I would love to discuss this further with anyone, maybe share some experiences with you guys. I really appreciate you taking the time to watch this, and I hope you enjoyed.